everyone, Crista Cowan here with another episode of The Barefoot Genealogist. Today we are talking about the stories that your family history records tell. Now that might seem a little bit vague, but let me just share with you a brief experience. When I first started doing family history research when I was a teenager, I used to make trips. I made a few trips with my father to the Family History Library in Salt Lake. Now, I grew up in California and Oregon and Washington, and so it was an event when we got to come to Salt Lake and come to the Family History Library. And I remember sitting with my dad with those big index books, the census. They were indexed in books, and so you'd look in the census index to find your family, and then you would go pull the reel of microfilm that was for the specific county and the specific town or the specific enumeration district. You'd have to load it onto the microfilm reader, and then you'd sit there scrolling through, getting motion sick. I always got motion sick, until you found the page that had your family on it. And then you'd look at the record, and I would hand copy the information down into blank census sheets, hand copy it down, and then we'd do that all day long, basically. And then I'd take those sheets home and I'd enter them into my computer software. That was how I did census research. Now, as I became a young adult, the technology advanced so that we could actually take that reel of microfilm off the microfilm reader, take it over to a copy machine, and then actually copy the page. And so then I ended up with copies of the census image, and that was always really exciting. And then, of course, in the last 15 years or so, we have a lot of that, actually all of the censuses available online now. The thing is that when I used to go to the Family History Library, I could look at a census image, and then 10 minutes later, somebody else could be looking at that same census image for the same family, and I would never know that. There was no way to know that. Now, with the technology that we have, not only can we pull the census images up on our computer right away, we can attach them to our tree right away, but we can also see who else has attached that record to their tree. So this record, besides just telling the story that's in the document itself, the journey it takes as people look at it and attach it to their tree also provides us with family history information, because theoretically anyway, people aren't attaching those records to their trees unless they're connected in some way, unless they're family. And so this provides us with this terrific opportunity to reach out and to collaborate with other users. So really long introduction today, but a super short actually presentation. I'm just going to show you how to find which other users have attached records to their trees, and then give you some tips for working with some of that information and then reaching out to other people. So just a couple things prepared for you today. Let's first talk about where you're going to find this related content panel. That's what it's called. When you're looking at an image, particularly for a census, but we also have this available on some passenger lists, and we're looking at rolling it out to other types of image content where there's an image, not just an index. We have this new, what we call the interactive image viewer, and you're looking for the related content panel. It's going to be on the right-hand side. So if I come over here, here is an 1880 census record for my great-great-grandparents. Here's my great-great-grandmother. Her name was actually Charity, but the census taker wrote her name as Chariot, which I just find a little amusing. And then here is her husband and some of their children. My great-grandmother had not yet been born. She was one of the younger children. And so I know that I'm looking for this record because I came from the index page or the record page, right? And then I click through to the image, and I hope all of you are doing that you're not just stopping at that index record, but that you're looking at the actual image, because the images often have additional information. Not only that, there's context, and we'll get to that here in just a second. But what you're looking for is the related content panel, and there's two ways to get to it. If I just move my mouse over here, you may see just briefly that there's like a tiny little green bar that shows up on the right-hand side. I can click that, and that will open the related content panel. Then I can just hover over that edge of that and click it, and it goes away again. There's also a little link right up here at the top of the page that says related content. Again, I can click that once to open, click it a second time to close. So that's what we're looking for, is this related content panel. Now, there's a couple of things that you're going to see. The first thing you're going to see are our suggested records. These are records that other people have attached in their trees for this same person, and we show you a few of them, and then you can click this link here to view all of them, so I could view all 8 suggested records. Today, I want you actually just to scroll down past that, and what you're looking for are the other people who have saved this record. And here's what we've done for you. There's 15 people who've saved this record. 12 of them are in public trees. And then if you scroll down past that, you're going to see the 3 that are in private trees. And that's what you're looking for, is that who else has saved this record, okay? Because you're going to want to know information about them. And so let's talk about a couple of things first. When you are collaborating with other users, or when you're trying to figure out who else is doing things, one of the things that I would actually suggest that you do, there's 2 things, but they both have to do with your profile. The first one is change your profile name to be your real name. I say that, I understand that some people have privacy concerns, and if that's a major issue for you, that you don't want your name out there anywhere, I don't want to burst your bubble, and your name is out there, but if it bothers you to have it out there attached to your family tree, I understand that. But one of the things that we've discovered is that people are more likely to reach out to people when they have a real name, not a screen name. We've also discovered, and this is actually even a bigger deal, that people are way more likely to reach out to you if you have a picture. It's something psychological. I don't understand it necessarily, but the fact of the matter is, as we look at our statistics, we find that people who have real names and people who have photos are contacted far more often than people who do not have either of those things. So here's where you can control that. Let me just come over here, open up a new window. When you're looking at your Ancestry.com account, you're going to see right up here your member profile. And that allows you to determine what other people can see about you. Now you can see here, I've got my name. I have a 1 at the end of my name because I have actually, I have some testing accounts that I used when I first started here. Anyway, so this is my main account, but it is my real name. I've put a picture. Now, it's not a picture of my face. It's a picture of my bare feet and my computer. And then a little bit of information about me and about the research that I'm doing, about the research, the names that I'm researching. And then you can see some information about my public member tree and the message boards that I have favorited. And so you can just see some things about me. That real person connection makes a difference to people. They want to know that they're communicating with a real person behind a screen. And so if you can update that information, then we find that people are more likely to reach out to you. Now, as I look at this related content, I can see that the very first person on this list, real name, photograph. I think that's fantastic. Now, there are some other people who have probably real names. As a matter of fact, Irvin Boyd, I recognize his name. And that's also an important thing, right? I don't know Irvin Boyd personally, but I do know that he is in my family tree. My mom collected some information at a family reunion in Arkansas back in the 80s about the living people in our tree, and his name's on that list. And so because I recognize his name, I'm more likely to reach out to him. You'll notice nobody else has a photo, and some people have, here we go. A couple more people here have photos. And some of them have obscure or random screen names. And so, like I said, I don't understand it. It's not necessarily the way that everybody works, but our statistics have shown real name and photograph, you're going to get a lot more interaction. Now, I have a couple of choices here when I'm looking at these related records. I can click on the name of the tree owner, and that will take me to their profile page. So here's the profile page for the woman who connected this record. And I can see, again, all the information about her public trees and the message boards that she's attached to and whatever she's chosen to share. What I'm really more interested in, however, is her tree where she has attached this specific record. So in this case, she's attached this record for my great-great-grandmother, and I can click on this little link that is my great-great-grandmother's name, and it's going to take me to the person page in this tree where she attached this record. Now here are a couple of reasons why this is important. First of all, she may have more information than I have. So I want to review the information that she has, see what she has about the children, see what she has about birth and death dates. I also want to scroll down past that and see what other records she has attached. Maybe she's found records I haven't yet found. And that's really important. And, here's kind of just a little personal thing. When I'm reviewing my shaky leaf hints, I actually focus almost exclusively on the records. I don't review a lot of other people's tree hints just because everybody's at a different level of experience. Everybody has different information. Sometimes that information is accurate, sometimes it's not. But when I do review people's trees, it's usually this way. It's by seeing what records have been attached and then looking at what other records they've attached. Because I know that if somebody's attaching records, at least they're making an effort to document that family history information. And so I want to see what else they've done. So that's the first thing, is I'm going to look and see what other records they've attached, what additional information they might have about this family that I don't have. The next thing I'm going to do is see if I can figure out how they're related to this person. Now, I know if I had a magic wand, I'd want just a little button that says, here's how the home person in this tree is related to this person. The problem is that the home person isn't always the tree owner, and so sometimes you have to get a little tricky. So here is my great-great-grandmother, and you can see when I click on the pedigree view, there's no further information. So I'm going to guess that the person who owns this tree is not related to the Shipmans. So then I'm going to click on the Lawrences and see, again, no information here. So what that tells me automatically is that the person who owns this tree is likely what we call a collateral relative. She might be, well, she could be a descendant and just not have done any further research, or she could be a relative of one of the spouses of one of these children. So then the next thing I do is I just click this little home button, and it shows me this person's tree. So based on how she's connected or identified the home person in her tree. And then I always just jump back to this far generation, look through some of these names and see if I can determine how we're connected to these people. Now I can tell you just by looking at this, and I didn't look at this ahead of time, I wanted to give you kind of a real-time experience here. The Holseys, the Ramies, those are all names that are part of this Northwest Arkansas family, and so my guess is the connection is going to be through one of the children of one of these two families that have married into either the Shipman or the Lawrence family. So that's kind of how I just explore a tree really quickly to see what else. Then what I'm probably going to do is click on the profile information for the tree owner, and you should have a contact link. That contact link allows you to send an Ancestry.com message. So it's not a message through your regular email. We don't share emails with each other. Ancestry.com doesn't share your email with other users. We give you a means to communicate with them a little bit more securely or privately. So when you click on that, it allows you to send a message, and then that message communication is going to go on through your Ancestry mailbox, which is just right up here, this little link where you have the envelope. It looks like I have a new message I need to look at, and that's how you can communicate back and forth until you decide to share further information with them. So with that, let me just give you a couple. I think I've covered most everything, but I just want to give you a few reminders here. When you find a record attached in someone else's tree, I always click through to see what other records that person has attached. I'm always more interested in the trees where people are attaching records and documenting their research than I am in the 30 other people who may have my great-grandmother in their tree but haven't documented it all or done any of that research or connected any of those records. And so that's what I'm most interested in first. Then I'm going to explore that tree a little bit to see if I can figure out quickly how they're related. Now you just saw, like I said, I did that live. I didn't do it ahead of time. That is about how much time I take. I just check each member of the couple, see what pedigree information there is, check the home person, see if I can figure out how they're related. If I can't figure it out really quickly, I'm just going to send a message to that other person to see if I can figure it out. Now, if I was looking at this other person's tree and noticed that they had some information inaccurate, there are a couple of things that you can do. I've kind of co-opted the Homeland Security phrase here, or little saying, if you see something, say something. one of the things that we have learned as a company, and one of the things that I have learned personally as a genealogist, is we're all in this together. Sometimes genealogy feels like a really solitary hobby, but the reality is that we all descend from the same people. I think I've shared this with you before. I do descendancy research where I trace all of the descendants of a certain person, and I have several great grandparents, that's usually the generation I go to, who have, thousands and thousands of descendants. One just born 200 years ago has 8,600 descendants. And those are just the ones we've found, that we've identified. I have another where I think we're up to like 12,000, and we're not even close to done. And so the thing is that we share these relatives with a lot of people. They're not just our people. And the more we share information with each other, the more accurate our information will be. And so if you see something, say something. If I was in this tree and I was looking at this information for my grandmother and something was inaccurate, now it's not. No, I just had to double check. It's not, but I could comment on this record. There's a little comment on this, and I could just say, hey, this is my great-great-grandmother, and I happen to know that this piece of information is wrong, and here's the documentation I have for the accurate information. Just make a little note on their tree, and that automatically sends a message to the tree owner. They get notified. I just got comments yesterday on my tree. I had a piece of info. Actually, I had a couple attached incorrectly. Turns out they actually weren't married to each other. And so somebody came by, saw that, said, this is my great-grandfather's brother. Here's the accurate information. I got a message. I went into my tree immediately and fixed that. Sent them a quick thank you note. So comment on it, leave a note. Most people are, anxious for that kind of help. So if you see something, say something. Next is, don't be afraid to reach out to others to collaborate. I have discovered that people oftentimes have more information, and the best way to do it is, like I said, first, if you can't figure it out, ask how they're related, and then offer to share your own research. Just, I've got a whole bunch of research on the Lawrence and Shipman families. I see you don't have any. If you're connected to them in some, if you're a descendant of this couple, I'd love to share more information. That's a really quick, simple message I can send that you're reaching out, you're trying to figure out how they're related, and you're offering something. You're not just trying to take something. The thing is a lot of times when you do that, people will offer up information in return. Hopefully that's not why we're doing it, but that's the spirit of collaboration. Then sometimes, once I've exchanged a message or two, I will put forth a research challenge. So, for example, if I didn't know who Charity Ann Shipman's parents were, I could say, look, I see we both have this person in our tree. I've been trying to find her parents for a really long time. I've narrowed it down to these two couples. Do you have any information that points to one couple or the other being her parents? And what happens is, again, sometimes they have more information. Sometimes people have information in their files or in old notebooks or in family letters or stories or Bibles that are in their possession that they just haven't put online yet. Sometimes people have that information and don't even realize they have that information. They've been focused on other parts of their tree, which is fine, right? But by sending them a message, you're kind of refocusing them on a place in the tree where you might want some collaboration or some research assistance. And if you put that forth as a challenge, hey, I've done this work. Do you have any information that'll help us figure this out or solve this problem? What I find is oftentimes they'll bring other people into that conversation then. They might say, oh, well, I don't have that information, but I know this cousin is also researching this, or I found this message board posting. And what we end up doing is leveraging each other to help do this work. And that is fantastic, to be able to kind of utilize the resources and the research of everyone together to solve some of these really tough research problems. My last piece of advice, and really my last word for today, is always be kind. I feel so bad that even has to be said, but I hear horror stories every day of people who, when reaching out to others, start right off the bat with attacking or accusations. And then, of course, that puts people on the defensive, or they just don't respond. And then other people get angry about that. And it's ridiculous, right? Like, just be kind, be nice to each other. Assume that everyone's motives are the best. Until they prove otherwise, especially when it comes to family history research. I think, we're all just trying to learn more about our own families, and we all have different reasons for doing that. And some people want to collaborate and some people don't. And we have to respect that as well. So be kind when you reach out to each other, be kind when you respond to each other, and use the tools that Ancestry.com has provided you to make some of those connections. Why not work together to do it? People talk about, having to order certificates and order away for records, and sometimes there's some cost involved in that. Wouldn't it be great to find 2 or 3 cousins who are looking for the same information and be able to split the cost of some of those things with them? Or, wouldn't it be fabulous to find that somebody's Aunt Sally had the family Bible in her attic all along, but nobody ever asked for it? Nobody ever reached out and said, hey, I'm researching this family. Do you know anybody in your family who might have more information? So we're all in this together, and we're all connected somehow, some way. Some of us more than others, especially those of us from Northwest Arkansas. So hopefully this has given you some ideas of ways you can collaborate, or at least look into the research that other people are doing with new eyes and a new light, and it might just provide you the information you need to break through that brick wall. Well, that is today's presentation. Hopefully that was useful for you. I am right now in the process of putting together the October calendar of live stream events. I'm hoping to have it posted by tomorrow morning, but I'm putting the finishing touches on it today. So if you've got any last minute suggestions of topics you'd like to see addressed in our Tuesday, Thursday presentations next month, shoot me an email at ask@ancestry.com, and I will take a look at those and see if we can't work those into the October schedule. Until next time, this is Crista Cowan. Have fun climbing your family tree.